Good evening, and welcome to this week's County Board of Education meeting. Thank you to our in-person and online communities and stakeholders for joining us this evening. It is my pleasure to call the Tweeds County Board of Education meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, February 22nd, 2022. The time is now 6:02 p.m. May we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence.
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated.
At this time, I entertain a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting.
I move that motion.
Motion been properly made by Ms. Blackshear. May I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Vice Chair Rouse. Any discussion? No discussion. I know you by saying aye, raising your hand if you approve this motion. Again, this motion is to approve tonight's agenda.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposes? No opposes. That motion carries unanimously. At this time, may I have approval of the minutes from our February 8th, 2022 BOE regular session? Well, members, I'll give you just a moment to review as we have received our packet in advance. Board members, after your reading of the February 8th, 2022 BOE regular session, approval of minutes, what do I hear?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the minutes for February the 8th, 2020, the BOE regular session.
The motion has been properly made by Ms. King. May I have a second?
2022. You said 2020.
February 8th, 2022.
Second.
Seconded by Vice Chair Rouse. Any discussion? No discussion. I know you by saying aye. Raise your hand if you approve the motion of our minutes from the February 8th, 2022 BOE regular session. Aye. Any opposes? No opposes. That motion carries unanimously. At this time, Ms. Blackshear, will you give us an ethics statement?
Yes. In accordance with regulations set forth by the Georgia Ethics Commission, it is the duty of every board member to avoid both conflict of interest and interest of such conflict. Does any board member have any known conflict of interest? Seeing none, Mr. Chair, we will proceed with our agenda.
Thank you, Madam Blackshear. At this time, does any board members have any comments or remarks tonight? Seeing none, good evening, Dr. Bullard. Superintendent comments and remarks.
Good evening, Mr. Chair,
Proceed.
Mr. Vice Chair, board members, community members with us virtually on tonight. We welcome everyone back to school after our winter break and celebrating the President's Day holiday. And I want to put on the parents' calendar that the 9 weeks, the third 9 weeks of the school year is quickly coming to an end. The third 9 weeks will end on March the 11th, and that's in 2 weeks. And on March the 11th, that will be a half day for students. So parents do plan for childcare after 12 o'clock p.m. on March the 11th. The teachers will be meeting with parents. They will be finalizing their grades for the third 9 weeks and doing some professional development on March the 11th after 12 o'clock. So please plan for child supervision on that day. Mr. Chair, that concludes my superintendent comments for today.
Thank you, Dr. Bullard. At this time, we will enter into our business agenda. Business agenda item A. This is the L4GA update. This is an information item being presented by Ms. Miriam Reardon. Good evening, Ms. Reardon.
We are Twiggs County with a vision of generating excellence, one team, one goal. Through the presentation tonight with the L4GA budget, we are going to be talking about how we are coming together throughout this county with that same vision and goal. Our mission is to inspire, challenge, and prepare all students to compete globally. The first thing I'm going to talk about is our ESSER ARP L4GA grant. The L4GA grant that we've talked about for the past 2 years was actually a different grant, and when we were awarded this L4GA grant, it's awarded out of the ESSER funds rather than the original L4GA funds. That's why it's a different name. It's the same grant that I've already shared with you before when Julie Morrell came down from the board, from Atlanta to talk to you about that. The original amount is $398,000. That's the total grant award. What they did with the grant, and it always has been a birth through 12 grant, but it has been separated into 4 separate grants, each totaling $99,500. Birth to 5 is one category, kindergarten through 5th grade is the second, 6th grade to 8th grade is the third, and 9th through 12th grade. With the birth to 5, we had multiple meetings with Lighthouse Daycare Center here in Twiggs County, with Head Start here in Twiggs County. We have our own pre-K program, and then we've got to, you see it encompasses birth to 5, so we had to find ways to reach those children who are newborns as well. We've partnered with Dr. Keisha Callens at times because she's an OBGYN here in Twiggs. We're partnering with local churches as well, and that partnership is ongoing. You'll see on this slide that you have in front of you are how the dollars have been divided up based on those conversations that we have had and the needs of the individual entities. We have $7,000 to first readers, $8,000 for transitioning to pre-K or transitioning to kindergarten, for kits and literacy kits, $6,000 for supplies and manipulatives for literacy centers, $10,000 for outdoor literacy-based equipment, $6,000 for literacy center furniture, $6,000 for technology, interactive boards and tablets, $5,000 for leveled readers and age-appropriate literature, $9,000 for professional learning, travel, and conferences, $32,000 for United Way partnership to meet that birth to 5 age group, $2,000 supplies for family engagement, and $8,000 for contracted services for literacy specialists to do professional learning with this birth to 5 age group. That is with Head Start and with Lighthouse with our own pre-K. On this slide, I gave you some examples, some visual examples of some of these materials that we're talking about because we don't normally talk about birth to 5. So I wanted you to visually see some of the things that we're talking about in this, with this age group. The Ready for Preschool backpack is something that's part of that transition kit. So we would be having family engagement pieces, and these backpacks would be going out to every 4-year-old student that's getting ready to transition into kindergarten. It would also be going to our 5-year-olds who may be transitioning into 1st grade. And it would also be going to our 3-year-olds transitioning into pre-K. So all of these, there's different type kits for different levels of that child. You see an example of some literature that we were talking about to purchase for our literacy centers. You see the literacy center, they were talking about furniture for literacy centers, and this is an example of what that might look like, which is very different from some things that we would see in our kindergarten through 12th grade classrooms. And then down at the bottom, specifically, you're looking at the $10,000 for outdoor play equipment. As you know from authorizing funds for playgrounds, that anything that is outdoors and that the students are working with in that sort of environment is very expensive. So it doesn't look like a lot, but it actually does a lot. This one is and these are just examples. It may not be this specifically, but these are definitely some of the things that have been discussed with Head Start and with Lighthouse. We're looking at things like a double paint panel where they can be painting outside to have language-rich experiences. The linguistic panels, that's so that you can have conversations with the students around weather, around colors, around shapes. The literacy cube, you also see the first picture there that you see has got consonant, vowel, consonant, CVC words on here so that the students can spin the dials to create the words that you see on the panel, and then those who are engaging with these students would facilitate this activity for the students to participate. The next that you're looking at is first readers. That's something we've talked about before, but we haven't had an opportunity to put it into place, and now we're putting it into place. First Readers is a program that's created. The home base for this is out of Madison, Georgia, and these are books that are sent home with a packet for the parents, but we're going to start with them here in our facility and in Lighthouse and in Head Start. They bring them in. We'll go over with the parents what to do with these books, activities you can do, extension activities with your students, but they get a book a month for every child based on their age. So if I'm birth to 1-year-old, I'm going to get those board books like you've seen that children have. Then as I grow older, those books change, the type of books, the content that are in the books. And if you go to the website, the First Readers website, down at the bottom is just an example. There's tabs that you can go to see the different age levels, and the books just go on and on and on in here. So we've also talked about some ideas through family engagement that we can do outside of this. Dr. Bullard had mentioned something like a bedtime story, using that with these books with these children. Those are just some ideas. Next, we have kindergarten through 5th grade. Again, using that $99,500, focusing only on kindergarten through 5th grade. We have our Read United with United Way. You've already seen that presentation from United Way that was done this past summer when we did our town hall meetings in the local churches. $20,000 travel to literacy-based conferences. And this is over a 2-year period, so this is not a 1-year grant. This is over a 2-year period. $20,000 for leveled libraries in all content areas and all grade levels. $6,000 for literacy-based family engagement kits, $2,000 for the storybook walk and community reading event supplies. March 21st, we're going to have our first storybook walk that it will be in the community. The very first storybook walk we had was at Jeffersonville Elementary School. The next one will be at the courthouse, and that information was already presented to you a couple of board meetings ago. Then we have the literacy curriculum, such as Secret Stories, Haggerty. Those are not the only ones. That was just an example. $46.50 for flexible seating for literacy centers, again, age appropriate. $5,000 for books that are associated with the storybook walk, and then $7,350 for home libraries, in much the same way that the First Readers is for birth to 5-year-olds. We're going to do our own book and family engagement piece to go with it that's going to go out to this age-appropriate student, and that's what these dollars are going to be. So we're going to kind of create our own First Readers program.
You said March is when
It is in March is when I think that it's March the 21st. I'm just off the top of my head, but it is in March, the storybook walk, and it will be at the courthouse, in front of the courthouse. Then we have 6th grade through 8th grade, much the same way that the kindergarten through 5th grade. We have contracted services for literacy, professional learning, travel to literacy-based conferences for content teachers. And I did not mention this in the first one, but when I'm saying literacy-based conferences for content teachers, for example, last week our science teachers went to a science conference. At the science conference, they covered the literacy standards that are associated with science, and then also gave them ideas on using literacy and literacy-based activities in the science classroom. And that's what this is. It's supporting the literacy initiative in the individual content areas. So as a science teacher, if I go to that conference, I'm comfortable because it's science and all about science, but then they're getting the literacy put in there and how to utilize that. If I'm a math teacher, I go to the math conference, and with the state of Georgia, these conferences are designed the same way, and that's how they get the literacy standards into each content area. So as long as it's that type of conference, we can pay for them to go to get that. And it was very, very beneficial to our science teachers last week. They really learned a lot. Leveled libraries in all content areas for 6th through 8th grade. Literacy-based, again, family engagement kits for this age level, not birth to 5 anymore. This is for 6th grade through 8th grade. We're talking about storybook walk and community reading events. This is a different storybook walk. This will be, again, age-based for 6th through 8th grade. Literacy curriculum supplies and manipulatives, books for the storybook walk, and again, home libraries, much like the first readers were for birth to 5. This will be for 6th graders through 8th graders to have books in their home that are theirs to keep so that they can build their own home library. Then 9th through 12th grade, $30,000 for contracted services for literacy professional learning, $20,000 travel to literacy-based conferences for content teachers, $20,000 for leveled libraries in all content areas, $8,000 for family literacy nights, book tasting, a parent university, and I'll have more information on that later. $6,500 for flexible seating for literacy centers, $5,000 for literacy curriculum supplies, and $10,000 for home libraries. An example of that at the 9th grade through 12th grade level would be they're studying a novel in their 10th grade ELA class. This would allow us to also purchase the novels for the classroom learning environment, and then purchase another set of the novels for the child to have at home, where they keep it at home and it stays at home beyond that learning experience, so they can reference back to it as they matriculate into college. That may be something that they want to look back at. Maybe they want to read it for pleasure later on, which is what we want to build in students anyway, is the love of reading for pleasure as well as for learning. Are there any questions? This is the L4GA grant. This is for information. These are the 3 grants under the L4GA for ESSER, ARP money.
Thank you, Ms. Reardon. Great presentation. We'll start with Ms. Blackshear. Proceed.
Great. I love the grant that we're getting. Thank you for all your hard work, the team that did this. I know you said at the beginning it was 4 separate grants. Does the grant require that you distribute equal amounts to each school?
When the grant grants came to us, it came as 4 separate grants. So the $99,500 is 1/4 of the original grant, and it must be spent in that age group.
Okay.
So we can't cross over age groups with the grants. So it's as if we were really awarded 4 grants rather than just 1.
And the reason that I say that, because I know we're growing in high school and elementary school. I know we have more students there. Then, that's why I asked that question.
Yes, but we also have other funding sources as well.
Yes. And also with the service, would there be any service contract to come out and help with literacy, maybe 2 hours a week with the kids?
Yes. We have us working with Head Start and with Lighthouse, our family engagement person. Now, we don't pay them extra. They're already paid out of another funding source if we are going there. But then we can get outside services. There were people we've worked with in the past when we had the Readers First grant. Those people, we can have them in to come and work with that age group. We work with the Deal Center. They have conferences at the Deal Center and professional learning with the Deal Center, and it's partnering with them. That's where we can spend this money.
Okay, because I see we have contracted services, literacy with professional learning.
Yes.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
contracted services is bringing in a person, and then the other type of professional learning would be us going to maybe a conference or maybe a workshop, that sort of thing.
Okay. I was just wondering about the kids.
Great question, Ms. Blackshear. That was actually one of my questions. If we could have a list of the service providers that will service in that contracted services area,
Yes.
helps us know the additional resources that we have in the district. And I had that question for all grade bands or all grade levels, if you will, K through 12. For the contracted services pieces, but that answer suffices.
Because they would definitely be different people because they have
Facts.
different specialties that they would be
Absolutely.
serving for a different age group.
Absolutely. In reference to professional learning and conferences, thank you for that, expounding on the content areas. Literacy is in every area. So knowing that we have possible to have classroom libraries for science, social studies, and so on and so forth is great. In reference to literacy and conferences, will the academic coaches be able to take advantage of these conferences or any additional,
Yes.
such as RISA trainings with literacy? RISA does a great job with literacy trainings.
Yes, Risa's one of our partners that we would have. Our academic coaches can. Our media specialist is going to a conference in a few weeks of course, that's literacy-based in the media center. And, but she is going to a conference and it will be paid for out of this grant as well.
Thank you. Technology piece, the interactive boards. We have some replacements, or we just need to update the ones that we have?
No, sir, these interactive boards are actually at Lighthouse.
Okay.
And the tablets at the Head Start. That is what they have requested, how they want, because we partnered with them. This is the money that's going to support them. So we were, in my conversations with them, what do you want? What works for you in your building? Because what works for our pre-K may not be the same as what works for them.
Okay.
And so that was what they wanted, were the interactive boards to be able to service those children. And I talked with Mr. Basley about what we can do with that in the future. Talked to him about what kind of tablets, and he's looking into that, would be appropriate for that age group, because they're not our, kindergarten through fifth grade students. So we've got to do something different
Right.
when we're serving them.
That is great. Will Mr. Basley and his team go over and possibly train on the technology such as the interactive boards, because those are quite sensitive, and I know that, it's possibly new to them, but he got
I'm
a bullet,
quite
man.
sure that he would.
Added work, but it's worth it.
If he's not available, then we will, part of that contracted services, we'll get somebody to train them.
Great presentation, great grant funding. Mr. Roush, you have anything?
I don't have anything, sir.
Okay. This is a great opportunity, great update. Thank you so much, Ms. Ritter. If nothing else for Ms. Reardon on the L4GA, we're going to move to business agenda item B. This is the CARES Act update. This is an information item being presented again by Ms. Reardon.
Good evening again, Board Chair Harris,
evening.
Vice Chair Rouse, and board members, stakeholders, and Dr. Bullard, Superintendent of Twiggs County Schools. Our vision again is generating excellence, one team, one goal. As you saw through the L4GA grant, we had one goal, and we certainly were one team, and that continues. And again, our mission to inspire, challenge, and prepare all students to compete globally. We are utilizing our funding sources to best meet the needs of all students here in Twiggs County. This presentation today is to let you know where we are with the CARES budgets, give you an idea of what has been spent, how things are allocated, and some changes that we have put in place to meet the needs of the students here in Twiggs County and our needs as we battle the COVID virus. I'm going to start first with the ESSER grant. You know this one as the CARES Act ESSER. You know this one as CARES 1. This was the original CARES that we had. It is $400,376. It was awarded on March the 13th, 2020. This grant went until September the 30th, 2021. With this grant, this is how this money was split up. You're already aware of this grant and how we have split up the money. But coming into September the 30th, 2021, out of that $400,000, we had left $12,291 that had not yet been spent as of the ending time period of the grant. There is a carryover period. So this money is now part of a separate budgeting process, so it is carryover money. We have an additional year to spend this carryover money, and it is $12,291. It was available to us August the 1st, and we have this money until September the 30th, 2022. This money has been approved. The budget is in the consolidated application, and it was approved by the Board of Education. This money did not change in context from the original allocation, but because it was only $12,000 left in it, we just put it back into what we were spending it in the grant. And the $12,000 has gone towards improving the filtration system to mitigate the virus spread, the additional cleaning of the facilities, the continued use of the sprayers and solutions for maintaining a safe environment, air quality consultant and inspection, and of course PPE as we continue to work through this virus. Once that $12,000 and the majority of that has already gone out, once that's gone, that will be the end of CARES 1 money. Then we have CARES Act 2 ESSER money. This is what we call CARES 2 money. It is $1,636,623. This budget was approved and it is in the consolidated application. We received this budget again March the 13th, 2020. It runs until September the 30th, 2022, and then it will end, and then the money that has not been spent will be put into carryover money, and we will have from October the 1st of 2022 until September the 30th of 2023 to spend any money that is remaining. You have already seen how the money was allocated. This allocation has not changed. For this, we have student learning support, after-school tutoring. United Way works with them. Our teachers work with them. Proximity Learning has a tutoring program to work with them. And some of this money has already been spent. Tutoring and intervention support with Read United again, and Proximity Learning, again, this money partially has already been spent. Summer school, we are planning for this upcoming summer school, not last year's summer school. This upcoming summer school will come out of this grant. Then we have staff that was already hired that were already discussed, and they are also in this grant, and from August until now, those salaries have been coming out of this grant. Next are the retention supplements. Those were approved by you. Those went out in January in the amount of $2,000 for the employees that we had on staff according to the stipulations that you had agreed upon. So that part, this money has already gone out. Next is technology, insurance for Chromebooks, hotspots, other devices, data plans for hotspots while we're still waiting on some other grants to come into place. Our Google Workspace has come out of this grant. Blocksy has also come out of this grant already. Curriculum supplies and assessment. We have been working on having assessments. They are coming out of this grant. Coach books, some have already come out and some may be utilized during this upcoming summer school. Student school supplies at the beginning of the school year. We partnered together to give all of the students here in Twiggs County $20,000 worth of school supplies. That came out of this grant. We have a digital music curriculum that all 3 schools utilize. We have that digital curriculum for 3 years, and it has come out of this grant. Art supplies for the art program, we've already purchased those art supplies, and it came out of this grant. The support curriculum and intervention curriculum is also coming out of this grant at this time. Then we have staff and district development, the strategic planning efforts that have been ongoing throughout this school year to put together a solid strategic plan for our district. The funding source for that has come out of this grant. The SAMS time tracker is kind of like a leader lesson plan. It tracks their time spent with PLCs, with interactions with teachers, families, students, observations, and feedback, creating better school leaders as their time, and this is their time-changing practice, and that is coming out of this grant. Professional learning throughout the district at all levels, from district level staff, from school leadership to staff members. Stipends in the future for teachers who complete professional learning outside of the regular school day. That could be during the summertime, it could be after school, but there are stipulations that are tied to that where they must have evidence of completing the program. Our new teacher and new staff development, our induction programs that we have been putting in place so far this school year, starting with our new teacher orientation this past summer, going through this year where some of the initiatives that we're doing for induction, that funding source is in this grant. Health services, an additional school nurse, that is an item that we are continuing to work on. We hope to have in place very, very soon. Expanded nursing facilities for our nurse. You know, they needed more space to meet the needs of the additional students that were coming in. Additional medical equipment, additional nursing supplies, those have already been coming out of this grant. Facility repairs, improvement, and improved air quality. The improved filtration system to mitigate the virus spread, the cleaning of facilities, sprayers and solutions, air quality consultants and inspection, and PPE are also coming out of this grant, in addition to whatever we had in CARES 1. So this is ongoing. Family engagement, this is an additional $10,000 on top of all of that you saw in the L4GA grant, on top of what we already have in our Title I budget. This is in addition to that. We are supporting, it's support for parents. It is family engagement kits that are age appropriate for several different ages, curriculum nights, those things have already been put in place. That was CARES 2 money. Then we moved to CARES 3 money. With this presentation with CARES 3, I want to make sure that in the beginning of it, I'm going to give you an overview of where we were, what we thought we were going to be planning for this money 2 years ago, and how those needs have changed. That's what you're going to see tonight as an information item. So the American Rescue Plan, the ARP, you may know it as sometimes CARES 3, $3,678,270. The plan for how we were going to spend the money, again, had to be turned in to the Department of Education 2 years ago. So we had turned that in. We are revising. It has not yet been submitted for approval. March the 13th, 2020 through September the 30th, 2023 is the grant period, with a carryover period going from October the 1st, 2023, and then what you see is a typo. It should be September the 30th, 2024, not September the 20th. This is where we started, this graphic that you see here. This is how we originally thought we would spend the money, and I'm going to break that down for you. We thought we would be spending first of all, activities to address learning loss. The Department of Education this grant requires that we reserve not less than 20% to specifically address learning loss. That being said, we originally, for tutoring and extended learning, had 10% of this grant allocated to that. It was increased to 24% as we see the needs changing with our students. Administering high-quality assessments, we originally allocated 7% of this money, and that is staying the same. Providing information to parents and assisting parents, it was 2%. It is remaining the same. Tracking attendance and improving engagement, 1% is what we had originally allocated, and we have increased that to 2% of this money. So we increased from what we originally had as 20% of this grant going to address learning loss specifically, to 35% to address learning loss. We also have a learning loss addressed embedded in the other categories as well. So here are some other needs. Addressing the unique needs of at-risk populations, we had 5%, we increased that to 7% as we saw the needs of our students. Developing and implementing procedures and systems to improve the preparedness and response efforts were 1%, we've increased that to 3%. Sanitizing and cleaning supplies was 2%, it remained the same. Mental health services and supports, we originally had allocated 5%. We have seen a great need to increase this, and we have increased it to 9%. Technology was at 15%. We decreased it to 13%, largely because we had other funding sources that we did not have at the time when we first allocated this money. Repairs and improvements to reduce the risk of virus transmission, 2%, remains the same. Inspection, testing, maintenance, repair, replacement, and upgrade was 28%. It has decreased to 1%, but that's because the largest portion of this has been paid through CARES 1 and CARES 2. So it was no longer as large of a need as we had when we first started out on this journey. Continuity of services, supplies, staff retention, staff development was 22%, and it remains the same. So this next graphic is the new way that we have allocated the money based on the changing needs of our students and staff here in Twiggs County. So here we are. We have student learning support, 22%, again going to after-school tutoring, tutoring and intervention support, summer school, a director of personalized learning, academic coach, transportation for after-school tutoring and summer school. Curriculum support and assessment, 7% for assessments, coach books, supplemental curriculum such as Studies Weekly. It's not the only thing. It was just to give you an example. Accurately assess student performance, iReady, additional content. Family engagement. This is what I had told you about earlier. We talked about the parent university, and this is what I mean by that. That we are looking towards, of course, utilizing the money for family engagement kits and literature, and our family engagement team will be the ones to be engaging the families with this. But we are also looking to create a flexible youth center for a parent university. And here are some examples of what that might look like in the media center at the high school. With cafe-style seating, you have seating for students or parents to work with their laptop on the table. You have the table with the screen and the chairs around it is called a collaboration table. And it's where they may watch a video of some sort and then have a facilitator, and then they would be able to collaborate around the learning process. I can see our parents doing this, I can see our students doing this, I can see our staff members utilizing this. And then finally, you see some flexible seating that is more conducive to a personalized learning environment, to a literacy-rich environment for our parents, for our students at the middle high school level. But this parent university is for the entire district, not just for middle high school. Attendance improvement, we have hired a graduation coach. We are still looking into bringing in an additional nurse. We also have teams that are working to ensure that our attendance records are accurate based on whether or not the child was out for going to an appointment versus COVID as the reason for the absence. So we're looking at cleaning up that, and that's a process. Improving our system response to the virus, developing a system plan for curriculum guides unique to Twiggs and our student needs for closing gaps. So there are curriculum guides that are out there, but our students here in Twiggs County have unique needs, and we want to make sure that we are meeting those individual unique needs. And developing a system plan for addressing learning here in Twiggs. A development of scope and sequence that is unique to Twiggs and contracted services to assist this. Sanitizing and cleaning, sanitizing our buildings still, cleaning supplies, sprayers and chemicals and PPE, because again, this grant, it will take us into the end, till September of 2024. Mental health supports, a social worker for our students here in the district, social emotional learning for our students at JES, mental health support for teachers, leaders, and staff through staff development, and continuing that social emotional learning at the middle high school through the art program. Technology, we did still set aside technology. If you remember, 2 years ago, we purchased technology as we went into a virtual learning environment. The technology that was purchased at that time has a 3-year lifespan. So there comes a time where we're going to have to replace that. So this technology money that you see here, we will not be spending it quickly. We will be holding back and waiting to the end of this grant cycle, so that when the grant cycle ends, we will have a new supply of technology to take us into the future, as well as replacing some of the interactive boards and things that are old technology right now. Our data plans for hotspots, if that is needed, and facility repairs, improvements, and improved air quality, that is continuing, ongoing. Inspection and consultation for air quality. This is checking for viruses and mold in all of our buildings, including 600 building, duct cleaning at the schools. Continuity of services, supplies, staff retention and development. Instructional supplies for teachers and students, continuing that $20,000 that we gave to our students at the beginning of this school year. It allows us to, over the next 2 years, continue to do that. Stipends for our staff for professional learning and staff development. That was a lot to take in. You have the numbers in front of you to reference. Do you have any questions?
Seeing none, thank you, Ms. Reader.
Thank you.
Business agenda item C. Twiggs County Middle High School damage covered walkway awning replacement. This is an action item. It's listed on your agenda as an information, but in our packet we see it as seeking approval for. So this will be an action item being presented by Director of Operations, Mr. Tyrone Bacon. Good evening, Mr. Bacon.
Good evening, Board Chair Harris,
Proceed.
Mr. Rouse, Vice Chair, and the other members of the Twiggs County Board of Education, and to Superintendent Dr. Mac Bullard, as well as good evening, greetings to all of those who are stakeholders joining us virtually. I come here today to talk to you about the purchase of a high school canopy top. But first, who are we? We're a district generating excellence, one team, one goal, with the mission to inspire, challenge, and prepare all of our students to compete globally. Accident at Twiggs County Middle High School bus ramp. On February 10th, a teacher's truck and trailer drove into the bus ramp canopy, the canopy on the high school side. So we have two sides. We have the middle school side, which is view coming in. That's the first canopy coming from the building, and the second, which goes to our 300 hall, 400 hall. So it was hit and it was damaged beyond repair. The district is seeking to file a claim against the vehicle owner's insurance policy. The district will seek out 2 estimates to replace this canopy. The first estimate came in at $46,943. And that's partly because of the expense of materials and supplies that are out here, and everybody's feeling that. And that estimate was submitted by Pittman Waller, one of our preferred vendors, on last week. As you can see from the pictures that were sent to you in your packet, it was a pretty hard hit with the trailer, and So it was totally a loss for us on that side. It cannot be repaired. It must be replaced with new. Next slide. So because it was a dangerous situation, and that's where all of our kids enter and exit the buildings before and after school, we got some contractors that night, came out, cut it up, moved it, dug up the poles. Want to thank definitely Mr. Broderick and Mr. Ron Chapman, who came out and with the truck and we pulled all the poles out. They did. I say we, but they did. And they made sure that school was ready for the next morning. We took it, we cut it up, and it's in the bus shop waiting for their insurance adjuster in case they wanted to see it, to analyze it. And we did take quite a few pictures and video to go with that. So while we're filing the claim, but we had to move that so school could be ready and safe for kids out there. And of course, if we left it out there, you know, the aluminum is very valuable. Anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000 scrap value, so we wanted to move that to a secure location to prevent anybody from pillaging the canopy while it was there. So our procurement policy, as the board very well know, in accordance with the board policy, all purchases more than $25,000 must be authorized by the Twiggs County Board of Education. Even if the cost of the purchase is covered by the insurance company, the Board of Education will still need to authorize this purchase. Approval of the purchase will allow for faster, if you approve it tonight, it will allow for faster execution once we get the second bid. So what we're asking for this evening is, once we get the second bid, we're asking that you approve a purchase of a canopy replacement with not to exceed $46,923. That's our first bid, and we would not exceed that. We would look for a lower bid. So if someone comes in, and we have Jackson Steel coming sometime this week to give us another bid, so that way we can beat the lead times and try to get the canopy up as soon as possible. That's what we're asking for tonight. So are there any questions, concerns about this replacement of the canopy at the high school?
Can we sell the aluminum, or does the insurance company take it?
We're not sure, Miss. We would hope that we do. We do have something here we call the scrap account. Yeah. So we use that. Operations use that, and we do things around the school. We may do a barbecue. We do things for the custodians and the bus drivers with that money. So anytime we have scrap, we do that. But it is, if they pay us for the canopy, it is their right to use that as salvage. So they may come and get it, they may leave it, so it's up to the insurance company what they do. But it is theirs, it is there for them to take.
I'm 6'5".
I know that awning was a few years old, so I don't expect for the new one to look like the middle school one, or will it?
Yes, sir. What we're asking for in our procurement request is that it matches. Of course, it may be a little bit, you know, brighter because it's newer, but we're going to try to get the same color, and if possible, paint matching. Maybe this summer, make the other side look as new. And you haven't noticed, but we did some awning repairs over Christmas break at the elementary school. It was leaning, had some parts replaced, and the same thing at the high school. So they do a very good job of matching that, and that work was done by Pittman Waller. But because such of a large, I was a little shocked at the $46,000 price. So we definitely going to do our due diligence and make sure we get several bids. As we don't do this often. It's not like replacing windows or things we do every day. So it looks a little high, but it's probably fair. They do good work for us.
So as of now, we don't know how much the insurance company is going to give us. They may take care of a lot.
Well, it is our definite hope, Ms. Blackshear, that they pay for the whole entire thing. But with something like this, they're going to take what's called depreciation. So they're going to depreciate the value, the age of all of that. So it's not like, just like when you get your car wrecked, they don't give you enough to replace your car. Hopefully you're not upside down. So I'm sure there'll be some depreciation that goes with that. We are covered under our insurance and could execute under our insurance, but we much rather wait to see what their insurance is going to do, because we don't want our premiums to go up because we made a claim with that.
That includes the post too? Not
Yes,
just
ma'am.
the top?
Yeah, the post, the top,
Whole 9
the whole 9 yards. Yes, ma'am. I can, but yes, ma'am. Out of their pocket? That is a superintendent question. And
Pass the buck.
that is definitely a superintendent question. But as we know, most liability insurance policies have liability up to like 50/50 is, I think, the base. This is obviously a new truck, so I'm sure he's carrying up to $100,000 or more in liability. So that's just a basic coverage. So I'm sure that it'll be our argument will be what they think it's worth when they adjust it and what we know it to cost for replacement. So that's the two things. And our insurance company and our lawyers may have to get involved with that to make sure that we get a fair deal.
That kind of rose into my question, simple question, and you may not even have a response to this, but was it like during school dismissal or maybe athletics, just in that area?
It happened around right after lunch, right? 1:45, yeah, about 1:45. If it's up to the superintendent, there is a video available that we will not show here in a public forum for the board to consume if they would like to.
I digress. We'll leave it to the superintendent.
Yes, but it was during the day about 1:45.
Okay. Well, thankfully, no one was hurt.
Yes, sir. And the teacher was not hurt. And the vehicle actually, we had to get two heavy-duty lift trucks to lift it up, and the vehicle only received minor scratches on it.
All right. Board, we've heard Mr. Bacon's presentation and concerning our procurement policy must come before the board. Dr. Bullard, what is your recommendation?
Mr. Chair, I ask the board and recommend that you approve the purchase of a new canopy for the middle high school not to exceed $46,923.
Board, we've heard the superintendent's recommendation. What do I hear?
I'll make that motion.
Motion has been properly made that we accept the superintendent's recommendation to purchase a new canopy to not exceed $46,923. May I have a second? I apologize. Let me restate that motion. Thank you, Ms. Blackshear. This motion again is to accept the superintendent recommendation for purchase of a new canopy not to exceed $46,923 with two estimates being received by our operations department before we make that purchase. Thank you. Motion been properly made by Ms. Stokes. May I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Vice Chair Rouse. Any discussion? No discussion. I know you by saying aye. Raising your hand if you approve this motion. Aye. Any opposes? No opposed. That motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Bacon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Business agenda item D, district request. This is an action item being presented by our superintendent, Dr. Mac Bullard. Good evening, Dr. Bullard.
Good evening, Mr. Chair,
Proceed.
Mr. Vice Chair, board members. community members that are joining us virtually on tonight. Board members, I have a set of field trips and several fundraiser requests that we'd like to present to you on tonight for your approval. I'll begin with the field trip request. Board members, as you know, a few weeks ago, we took a trip to Bibb County to the Hutchins College and Career Academy and did a site visit of that facility in anticipation of the development of an MOU to expand our career pathways for our students in partnership with Hutchins College and Career Academy. The high school CTAE department, as well as the leadership of the high school, would now like to take our students and our parents on the very same field trip that you had the opportunity to participate in on Tuesday night, March the 1st, from 4:15 to 8 p.m. The Hutchins Career Academy are preparing to host that site visit for our parents and our students to show them the different career pathways that are available in that facility as we continue to develop that MOU, and we'll be presenting that MOU once we complete it to you board members for approval. That trip would be on Tuesday, March the 1st, 2022, and that will be 10th graders and 11th graders have an opportunity to see those pathways and then potentially select those pathways if that MOU meets your approval.
Will the students have a way home after
We're going to
8 o'clock?
Yes, ma'am. We're going to actually utilize our school buses to take students there to the College Career Academy and bring them back home. The second field trip is from our ROTC department, Lieutenant Colonel Terry and Sergeant Lockhart. They're requesting your approval to take the junior ROTC on Friday, April the 1st, 2022, on a field trip to the National POW Museum in Andersonville, Georgia. This will give their students a better understanding of our country's history and what the POWs had to experience during World War I and World War II. And that field trip has been requested for April the 1st, 2022, which is a Friday. The fundraisers that have been requested, we have several that have been requested by the Beta Club of Jeffersonville Elementary School in preparation for national competition, and that national competition will be in Tennessee, and they would like to sponsor several fundraisers in order to raise money for the students to attend that competition and to pay for those expenses. The first fundraiser would be February the 22nd, Tuesday, February 22nd through Thursday, March the 10th, and that's a basket raffle. The second fundraiser would be Tuesday, March the 1st through the 15th, and that will be a Coke sale. The third third fundraiser would be from March the 1st through March the 17th, and that will be cupcake sales. And then the fourth fundraiser that they're requesting your approval is from Tuesday, March the 1st through April the 1st, which is a Friday, and they're hoping to sponsor a school talent show in order to raise funds for the National Beta Club. Also, Ms. Renata Woodley and the junior class at Twiggs County High School are requesting your approval for a donut sale in order to raise money for the junior-senior prom. And finally, in order to help support and purchase incentives for our PBIS store for teachers and for students, Ms. Woodley and the high school, Ms. Woodley is the PBIS coordinator for our high school, would like to request your permission for fundraisers to sell ices and chips after school. And those ices and chips will be sold on each Friday for the month of February, for the month of March, and for the month of April. They will sell chips and ices, and they would utilize that money in order to purchase incentives to go into the PBIS store. So when students are awarded PBIS points, they'll be able to trade those points in for various incentives for their good behavior and good grades and character demonstrated in the school. This concludes our fundraising and field trip request for this board meeting.
Thank you, Dr. Bullard. We've heard our district request from our superintendent. I have a motion to accept district requests, including field trips and fundraisers.
I make the motion to accept the district request for both field trips and fundraisers.
Motion's been properly made by Ms. Baxter. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. King. Any discussion? No discussion. I know you by saying aye. Raise your hand if you approve this motion. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposers? No opposed. That motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Dr. Bullard. At this time, Dr. Bullard, have we exhausted our business agenda for tonight's meeting?
We have exhausted the business agenda for tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Bullard. At this time, I'll ask for a motion to enter into executive session.
So moved.
Motion is properly made by Ms. King. May we have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Stokes. Any discussion? No discussion. I know you by saying aye. Raise your hand if you approve this motion. Aye. Any opposers? No opposers. That motion carries unanimously. We are now in executive session. Thank you. Good evening again, Tweets County, and thank you for our online viewers as well as our in-person, the board and our great staff. Thank you again for courageous conversations during our executive session, talking about the legal and personnel matters presented by our superintendent. At this time, I would like to ask for a motion to exit executive session and enter into public session.
I'll make that motion.
Motion's been properly made by Ms. Stokes. May I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Vice Chair Rouse. Any discussion? No discussion. I know you by saying aye. Raise your hand if you approve this motion to exit executive session and enter into public session. Aye. Any opposes? No opposes. That motion carries unanimously. We are now back in public session. We have reviewed the recommendations from our superintendent tonight in reference to resignations as well as new hires. At this time, I would like to take the resignation of EID 3266. We have received the superintendent's recommendation or acceptance of resignation by EID 3266. Board members, I have a motion to accept resignation from employee EID or EID 3266.
I would like to make a motion to accept the resignation of EID 3266.
Second.
Any discussion? The motion has been properly made by Ms. King and seconded by Ms. Blackshear. No discussion. I know you by saying aye, raising your hand.
Aye.
Any opposes? That motion carries 4-1. Superintendent recommendation for new hire, CID 478. CID 478. I have a motion to accept the superintendent's recommendation for a position as school nurse, CARES Act. This position is again for school nurse, CID 478. At this time, I have a motion to accept the superintendent's recommendation for a new hire for a school nurse.
I move that motion.
Motion been properly made by Ms. Blackshear. May I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Vice Chair Rouse. Any discussion? No discussion. I know you by saying aye, raise your hand if you approve the motion for the superintendent's recommendation to accept CID 478 for school nurse. Aye. Any opposes? No opposed. That motion carries unanimously. New hire recommendation from our superintendent, CID 125, position food service worker. I have a motion to accept the superintendent's recommendation for food service worker for CID 125.
I'll make that motion.
Motion been properly made by our vice chair to accept the superintendent's recommendation for food service worker for CID 125. May I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by seconded by Ms. Shirley Stokes. Any discussion? No discussion. I know you by saying aye or raising your hand if you approve the recommendation from the superintendent and the motion to accept CID 125 for food service worker. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposes? No opposes. That motion carries unanimously. Dr. Bullock, have we exhausted our executive session summary for recommendations, hires, rescindments, and renewals?
Mr. Chair, you have exhausted all of the personnel recommendations for tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Bullard. Board members, if there should be nothing else, this concludes our business of the district for our February 22nd, 2002 BOE work session. At this time, I'll ask for a motion for adjournment.
I'll make that motion.
Motion has been properly made by Ms. Stokes. May I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Vice Chair Rouse. Any discussion? No discussion. I know you by saying aye, raising your hand if you approve this motion for adjournment. Aye. Any opposes? No opposes. That motion carries unanimously. Good night, Tweaks County.